everybody, it's Mrs. Flory here, and I'm in the garden and getting ready to prepare our seed potatoes for planting. Now, the cool thing about potatoes is the actual potato itself can be used as a seed. And so what we do is we cut the potato into pieces, and each one of those pieces can be planted, and that becomes our seed. And the cool thing about doing that is when I cut a piece of potato off of a potato to use as a seed, I'm going to grow that exact same kind of potato. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of cloning or clones, maybe Star Wars, the Clone Wars, you know, and how all those clone warriors look exactly the same. Well, it's the same with this. A clone, we're going to get exactly the same kind of potato. So if I plant a white-skinned red potato, and I believe this one is called Chieftain, I know that the potatoes that I harvest from that plant are going to be white fleshed red-skinned potatoes. So the cool thing is, and I'm gonna get up a little bit closer so you guys can see this, is on our potatoes, they have eyes. Isn't that so cool? So there's an eye here, 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 here. And the reason I know these are eyes, some of them have actually, oops, here we go. Some of them have actually started to sprout. They've got these little tiny sprouts, but also there's an eyebrow. Do you see that? Now, if you look long enough at that, it might even wink at you. Did you see that? It winked. So, in order for it to be an eye, it needs to have an eyebrow. And so when I'm cutting my potatoes into pieces, I want to make sure each one of the pieces I cut has some eyes on it. At least one. I like to have two. So this one has two eyes, and I can see because they've already started to sprout. After I cut them, I put them skin side down on this tray because I want this fleshy part here to heal over a little bit. Right now it's a little bit wet, and when we go to plant these in the soil, this skin side, this cut side, is going to be down in the soil, so our eyes are facing up. And so I want that to be healed up a little bit. So I'm going to let these sit in the sun a little bit and heal up, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to cut one. Boy, this is a nice one. It's got so many eyes on it. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is cut this end off of it. So there's one piece. And this is one of my russet potatoes, and I can tell by the color of the flesh and actually the shape also of the potato. And now I think I'm going to cut this bigger piece into two halves. I'll cut it this way. So now out of that one potato, I ended up with three separate pieces or seeds, seed potatoes, and each one of these will get planted individually, and each one of these seeds will make another probably 6 or 8 nice sized potatoes for us. So if we were doing math, which we do all the time in the garden, and let's say I'm going to get 10 potatoes from each one of my seeds, let's do the math. So from this seed potato, I'm going to get 10 potatoes. From this potato, seed potato, I'm going to get 10. And from this one, I'm going to get 10. So that's 10 plus 10 plus 10. Or 10 3 times. So 10 times 3. Did you come up with an answer? Let's add them. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus another 10 is 30. So out of this one seed potato, I'm going to get 30 new potatoes after they grow in the ground. That is so cool. So math in the garden. So we've got 4 different kinds of potatoes here that we're going to be planting. So stay tuned after these heal up a little bit, we are going to be putting these into the garden. Hey everybody, I am getting ready to get the beds prepared for where the potatoes are going to be planted this year, because that is going to be our activity for the day. So I am going to start that preparation, and what I'm going to do is move the hay. This is actually hay and not straw this time. I'm going to move the hay off of the bed, and then I'm just going to take my digging fork here and I'm going to jab it into the soil and just move it around a little bit, just to make sure it's nice and loose. And just by putting it in, I can feel that it's really nice and loose. And then I'm going to put the hay back on top of the bed, and we're going to plant our seed potatoes right through the hay mulch on the top, and then they'll poke their little heads up through, and our bed will already be mulched to protect that soil and the potatoes from the sun. Hey everybody, my potatoes have been sitting in the sun and they're looking nice and healed and dry, so we're going to start planting. One of the things that I want to let you know is a question I thought maybe you would have is, would any potato be able to could you cut it up and could you plant it? Sometimes if you buy what I call conventional potatoes, which are non-organic potatoes, sometimes they'll spray a non-sprouting spray onto the potatoes so that they're not going to sprout in storage, because they want to be able to sell those to people. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of the potatoes that maybe your folks have purchased, and if they've sat in the bag too long, sometimes they'll start to sprout. You could plant that potato. So maybe that's something that you want to try, check out, look in your cupboard, ask your folks, do we have any potatoes? See if you can find the eyes, and if you do find the eyes, you could let that potato sit out and see if it started to sprout, which would be pretty cool. If you have some soil at home, that would be even cooler, is to actually plant one into the soil. I just want to share with you guys, the goldfinches are back. I know you guys are doing a lot of study, a good study about birds in science, and I want to let you know today, for the first time this morning, I saw goldfinches, and I just saw one fly by. Okay, so now when I'm planting my potato, I want to make sure my eye is here. So this piece does have an eye. It actually has two eyes. So I found the eye and the eyebrow. Yep, it winked at me, so I know it's an eyebrow. And the skin is facing up. My cut side is going to be facing down. So this year, how we're planting these, we're actually down in the back of the garden where we usually plant our tomatoes. But remember, we're going to give this part of the garden a rest, and this is where we're going to plant different things this year. So we're going to try some potatoes in here. So I'm just moving my hay over to the side, and I'm going to actually make a nice size hole. Ooh, I just found a garden centipede down in the soil. That's really excellent. Tuck him back in. I'm going to cover up my potato. I'm going to leave this little hole for my potato to come up through, and now I'm going to move about 12 inches. I want to give my potato some room, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make another hole. I'm going to, let's see, which kind did I plant? Planted this kind. I planted this one. I'm going to take another potato, flesh side down, my cut side down, tuck them down in there. I'm planting them probably about 3 to 4 inches deep. You want to plant them deeply enough so that when they start to sprout, they're not gonna be exposed to the sun right on the top, but also they're not gonna be so deep down that it's gonna have a hard time germinating and pushing up through the soil. So I'm gonna continue on, and I'm just doing one row right down the middle of these beds. I'm going to plant 2 beds, and I'm just going to keep on planting until I run out of space, and that is going to be my afternoon job. And after I finish planting, I am going to make sure these guys get a good drink. That is very important. So this is our potato planting. Potatoes are in the Solanaceous family, or nightshade family, and they are in the same family as tomatoes, as peppers, as eggplants. They're all related to each other. So I'm going to finish planting my potatoes, and yeah, I'm glad you could join me here in the garden today, and I will see you soon.